lovely mother.
Hi, I'm Jeanette.
And this is our bonus episode for Universal because I thought we were just going to do one episode of Universal and then I blabbered for 50 minutes just in Harry Potter World. So here we are to finish.
Amanda had a good time.
Yeah, I didn't even talk about my thoughts and opinions on Universal as a park, which I do have thoughts and opinions on. So that's why I wanted to talk about more about Universal. Right. So we will get to it. So as a quick recap, we went for a Disney World vacation. I did the Princess Half Marathon, which we have a whole podcast episode that's out already. We had 3 days in Disney. We did Epcot, Hollywood Studios, and Magic Kingdom. Again, a whole episode on that. And then we had 2 days in Universal. And so I've already talked about at length about Harry Potter World. So we arrived in Islands of Adventure on Wednesday, February 26th. And so we did Harry Potter World basically from the start of the park when it opened at 9 until about 3 o'clock in the afternoon. All we did was Harry Potter. And then
I was not there. So
yeah, my parents were not there. My mom was actually sick that week. She actually already had left.
Yeah, I wasn't going to Universal anyway because it's not my kind of park. And I'm not a Harry Potter fan. So Amanda's been talking a lot. So she's got a lot more to say.
Oh, we got a lot more to say, that's for sure. So at 3 p.m., again, I would definitely recommend listening to the Harry Potter episode for sure because it's like the part 1. This is essentially a part 2, I would say. So I talked a lot about all the stuff with Harry Potter, so we won't touch on too much about Harry Potter at all. So we're going to pick up at 3 p.m. when we finally were in Universal Studios after Diagon Alley, and we were like, let's go see what the rest of the parks have to offer since we've spent basically a full day only in Harry Potter World. So we leave. As we enter out, we just naturally turn right. Now, I will say both parks are structured in like a circle essentially around a little body of water. So I don't know what made us turn right. We just turned right. So when we turned right, this is where you kind of start to get more towards like that New York type thing that Universal Studios has. And the first thing you come across is the Fast and Furious supercharged ride. So my fiance is a really big car person. So of course we're going to go on the Fast and Furious ride. Now I had heard that the Fast and Furious ride was not good. And I only heard that from people online being like, oh, this ride's so silly, needs to close, it's a waste of space and time, whatever it may be. So we start going through the queue of it. The queue was pretty cool because you do see like the full garages that you see in like the movies and stuff like that. Then you get to a couple different pre-shows that were questionable, that's for sure. Then you get on the ride and I will say all those people were right. This ride was horrible. Absolutely awful. Yeah. I feel bad starting the podcast off on a bad note, but it was just so funny to me and Ted to be like, what is this? Like this ride makes no sense. So we're going to do full spoilers for this episode, I think, because a lot of these rides have been out for years and years. And like a lot of people that have been to Universal have been on them before. Right. But I will say a lot of the Universal rides follow a very similar structure where you essentially sit in some kind of contraption and it shakes you around really aggressively. And there's lots of loud noises. Almost every ride at Universal is basically going to be like that. Really? And I didn't know that because we got on this ride. So again, you go through these 2 really weird pre-shows with like real people are like actors in these pre-shows. You have the characters from Fast and Furious kind of setting you up this whole mission's going down with the FBI, all this stuff, you know, a typical Fast and Furious type of thing.
I'm familiar with.
You then get on this party bus. I kid you not, it's a party bus on this bus with these like crazy lights going on. And you get on this bus. There's a fake person driving the bus, which I think is one of the funniest parts of this whole ride.
These new actors, but the fake person.
There's a fake person. It's like a dummy, not even moving. It doesn't even look real.
Okay.
It's just a fake person driving this bus. You go through, there is this really funny scene because Fast and Furious is typical, like, oh, they always have a scene, like the party scene with like the girls, you know? You go through this thing, there's a screen and it's just like an obvious, like silly little party scene with all these like girls scantily dressed. Then the FBI comes in, breaks down, and then suddenly like you're with Dom and the family, so to speak, on this mission. I can't even remember what the plot of this thing was, but you're like supposed to be going back and forth between like the bad guys and like the FBI people or whatever. Then the bus pulls into this like really big room essentially. There's screens like all like a 360 screen. I don't think it was exactly behind you, but it's like a 360 screen essentially around you. And all this crazy stuff is happening on both sides of the bus. The bus is like going crazy back and forth. The loudest explosion sounds you'll ever hear in your entire life basically is happening. There's like fake water being sprayed at you. It was like Dom is hanging from a helicopter at one point. You know, it's the most typical Fast and Furious plot that you would ever imagine. And you're like supposed to be in the middle of it, I think. So then you keep going through this bus. And that's the thing. The screens around it are supposed to make you feel like you're on this mission with them, but you're obviously not. It's not even a roller coaster. So it's like not even like, it's like very obviously not real, I think is the problem. So then you keep going through this ride. Obviously you save the day. Dom is like, oh, now you're part of the family, all this stuff. It's very corny. And I think that was the problem with this ride is that it's too corny essentially. Like I think the Fast and Furious, like the over the topness really works in the movies because you're separated from them in that sense where it's like, oh, it's a movie. It's like you're watching these characters.
You're watching them do all this.
You really love the characters. You get to see all the cool cars in the movies as well. Whereas where you're on this like kind of silly party bus and you're just like supposed to be there with
in the
them,
middle of everything going on.
It's like an obvious screen where Dom's hanging from a helicopter. You're like, what is this? Like, this is ridiculous. Like, this is ridiculous. I'm sorry, but it is. Okay. So neither me or Ted liked that ride. We got off and he was just like, that was horrible. Just like, that was so bad. And the ride took a long time because you have this 2 different pre-shows. So it takes a long time to get on the ride. So it took up a lot of time. Although when we were in the gift shop, Ted did buy a t-shirt, like one of it wasn't a Fast and Furious t-shirt. It was like a general car racing t-shirt. So he did buy himself a t-shirt, which I thought was funny. Okay. But yeah, and it was so funny too, because I think he was kind of excited to sort of go on the ride. But I told him, I was just like, so, like I've heard people say this ride's not very good, just so you know. And they were actually closing the Fast and Furious ride in Universal in Hollywood in California. They've announced already that there's closing. I don't know what it's going to be replaced with. And everyone's saying it's like the one in Universal Orlando needs to close as well. It's also
maybe after they do Disney, after they do Hollywood, maybe they'll come over and do that.
No, for sure. And I will say there wasn't even like a line for
I think they're too busy doing the universe right now.
Yeah. So we mentioned this in part 1, but we had Express Pass Unlimited for both days. So we had a 2-day park to park Express Pass Unlimited for me and my fiance. So we use Express Pass basically for everything. So we did use Express Pass for this. So you kind of like skip the line, I'd say, so to speak. So you keep kind of walking down like the streets of New York thing, and then you get to the Mummy ride. The Mummy ride is a roller coaster, but it's set up as if it's like a museum exhibit type thing that you're going into like the Mummy exhibit, type thing. So you walk in, and it's funny because they have all the characters from, like Brendan Fraser's there and stuff like that. What's funny is that I had went on the Mummy ride 11 years ago, which was the last time I went to Universal, was 11 years ago. And I remember I really liked this ride. What's funny is that I had never actually seen the movie until just recently. Like me and Ted just happened to watch the Mummy movie in January, like a few months ago. And then when we got to this ride, we were like, wait, that's the movie I just watched for the first time, like a few weeks ago.
Did it make a difference on the ride?
It really doesn't, because I remember going on it 11 years ago, and like you really don't need to watch the movie to know what's going on. It's a mummy. That's all you really need to know. It's like maybe knowing the plot is like interesting. But I will say, I do think this ride is really cool. There's a lot of really cool special effects on this ride when you go on. Like there is one room that I feel like they must have spent thousands of dollars on, because like these things rise from like the nothing.
Wow. Okay.
It like makes it feel like you're in like an ancient temple, like the mummy in front of you is really cool. There's all these fire effects. There's a lot of fire effects on this ride, but you're only in the room for like maybe 10 seconds. And I'm like, I wish you spent more time in that room, because the room was so well done that it's like you don't really have time to enjoy it, and then you leave because you're on a roller coaster. So like you kind of go slowly through the room, and then you kind of go into the rest of the roller coaster. And then there were a few other scenes too where like there's fire effects that are like above you. That was really cool. Like the mummy is supposed to be attacking you from above, so the fire is above you. So I will say overall, I thought this coaster was really cool because there was a lot of really cool fire effects in it. And there were a lot of really cool like just like mummy effects in a general sense in it, which I thought was really cool and really fun. So I will say this is one of the better rides, I would say, as an overall sense. So we get off the mummy ride, then we walk over to the Transformers ride. Now the outside of the Transformers ride has this huge thing of Optimus Prime, which I will say was really cool. Now earlier that day, we had met this family that said that they did Universal Studios the day prior and that they loved the Transformers ride, that they did it twice. And I was just like, okay, so we go on the Transformers ride, and a lot of their rides are going to be 4 seats in 3 rows. So we get into the 4 seats in 3 rows, and then the big thing kind of comes down and like locks you in. So you can't actually see out like to the sides. Like there's nothing to the sides, because it's like the sides are too high up that you can't really see on the sides. Okay. And Ted was almost always sitting on the end. So on a lot of these rides, he said his head kept hitting the side. Because these rides shake you around a lot. You're basically kind of like, people have heard describe Star Tours as like you sit in a box and it shakes you around. That's basically what all these rides are. That you sit in a little box and it shakes you around. And so we go on the Transformers ride. You have the little 3D glasses. You put the 3D glasses on. Now I found this ride to be extremely intense. And the main reason for that is because you have the 3D glasses on. It's all screens for the most part. Your little box is shaking you around so aggressively. It's very loud because again, the Transformers are like fighting in front of you. I couldn't even tell you the plot because I don't know Transformers that well. And with love, they kind of all look the same to me. Like I know they're different colors, but it's like they kind of all look the same at the end of the day to me. So it's obvious the Transformers are fighting each other, but they're like throwing you up. You're like going upside down multiple times. Like the screen is making it look like you're going upside down multiple times. It's like you're going from like the tops of the buildings falling all the way down to from like a skyscraper to the floor, and like Megatron will like catch you or something like that. And it's just like this craziness being thrown around this little box basically, and the box is violently shaking you this entire time to the point where my glasses fell off multiple times. So I couldn't keep the glasses on. I had to hold the glasses on my face because without the glasses it's 3D, so you can't see anything without the glasses obviously. And so I'm holding glasses to my face. I'm being shaked around so violently. I didn't know the people sitting next to me, so I kept hitting her because I felt bad because I was trying to hold the glasses and I was just like, what am I doing? Like this is so intense right now. It was like such an intense ride that I wasn't expecting to be that intense. Again, this is only like we've only done the Harry Potter rides really so far, and then we did that like other, we did the Fast and Furious ride that also shook us around. That was really intense too. Now we're on this ride that's shaking us around really intense with the little glasses, and I'm like, this is bananas. So we get off that ride, and I actually like didn't really feel that great off that ride. Like I didn't really feel.
That's unusual for you.
Well, it's funny. I didn't really feel motion sick or anything like that. Like I didn't get sick. I didn't have a headache or anything. But I was just like, wow. Like I didn't really like that. Like it didn't really feel good to be on that ride. And I think part of that ride specifically, in comparison to some of the other ones that had the same ride structure, was because what was on the screen of like the characters of Transformers, they were moving so fast and they're so large. And I feel like it's hard to describe because Transformers, like, they're basically just a bunch of little squares, right? Because they're like technology type things.
Yeah.
So it's like seeing those like kind of like the finer details of the Transformers move very quickly was kind of dizzying to a certain extent because it was just like a blur of color to a certain extent. Like you didn't see anything. You're just seeing these blurs of colors of these two fake things fighting with each other, so to speak. And so it was just kind of confusing. I mean, like, again, the plot was very basic. I did think it was fun overall. Like I did like the ride, and like Ted liked the ride as well, but we were both just like, that was interesting. Like I wasn't expecting it to be like that.
Something different.
So we get off the Transformers ride. Again, a very interesting ride. They always clap for you when you get off a ride, which I think is really funny. After every ride, it's supposed to be like, oh, you survived. And so then the workers will clap for you because you survived like whatever the mission was, which I think is funny because you tend to board the ride the same place where you get off. So you're clapping for the people who are getting off, but then people are about to board the ride anyway, as if you're not going to make it. So it's like, I don't know, in this very controlled setting of a theme park. So then we walk past, there were a few cars that were outside of like the Melrose Diner, I think, or Mel's Diner, whatever it was called. And so we took some photos of some cars. And then we wanted to go over to the big red coaster. So when you're in both parks, they have one really tall red roller coaster that is like it's like the tallest coaster in Universal Studios and Universal Orlando, Universal Resorts, whatever they call both parks. And it's called the Hollywood Riptide or something like that. I'm not really sure what it's called. So we walk over to that ride and we're like, all right, we're going to go on the roller coaster. When we get over there, we have our little express pass lanes and they say, you're going to walk through a metal detector for this ride. All of your keys and everything has to come out and they have lockers. Now, way back when I went 11 years ago, you had to pay for these lockers. And so that's why I planned to come to this park without any bags. I didn't want a bag because I remember how Universal's very strict on bags. They have been lenient over the years. Like it wasn't as bad as I remember. And the lockers are free when you ride. So there are certain lockers that you pay for and certain lockers that are free for under 30 minutes. So we did get to the locker that was free, which was nice. So we didn't have to pay for the lockers, but you do have to put all your stuff in the locker. Again, for Express Pass, you obviously have to have your little pass with you. So if you don't have pockets for some reason, I don't know where you put your pass, but I mean, like I did have pockets in my shorts and Ted had pockets as well. And also Ted kept saying, he told one of the workers, he's like, well, my pockets have zippers. So he's like, things won't come out of it. And he was like, well, you're walking through a metal detector, so it doesn't matter. Like you have to take everything out. So we took everything out. We went on the ride. Now when we're getting up to the ride, I'm like braiding my hair because like whenever I go on roller coasters, I like to braid my hair. And it's funny because before we get on the ride, there was a few things that explained to you what was going to happen on the ride, that you're going to pick a song. I didn't really understand what it meant. But yeah, when you sit down in this red coaster, there's this little thing in front of you and there's like all these song options. So you can pick like hip hop or like pop music or dance music or like metal rock type music or something. So I picked like electro techno music because that's probably my favorite type of music. The only song option was Sandstorm, which is like the most famous like techno song I guess there is. So that song starts playing. So you start going up. It's a vertical lift. So you're fully on your back vertically as you go up. And then it's not a full vertical drop. It's slightly slanted. There's not like King Ka, which now has been imploded. So King Ka doesn't exist anymore. But it's not like King Ka. It's a vertical lift, but then it's like a little thing. But it does go upside down. And it's funny because then the music is playing, but it's like do 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 do. And I'm just like on this coaster screaming. I will say if you get dizzy on roller coasters or you get scared on roller coasters, if you just close your eyes, it's really not that bad because you can't see anything. And I feel like it's a very visual, like you can feel the wind and stuff like that, but it's like a lot of like the fear of roller coasters is like the visual aspect
anticipation
of seeing how high you are,
how fast you're going to go down.
Yeah, like seeing the loops or anything coming. So if you just close your eyes, it's really fine. So I did close my eyes for most of this coaster, honestly. Also, I always find whenever my eyes are open that like something always flies into my eye, like a piece of dirt or like a bird or something like that is flying into my eye. So I did have my eyes closed. Now, what was funny on this ride, when we got off, a lot of these rides take photos of you on the rides. So we always try to look at our photos to be like, oh, there's us on the photos. So we go to the thing where you can see the photos, and there was this whole option, and I didn't see this because it's two-seaters. And so Ted saw this because on his side, there was a full-on camera, and the camera records you the entire ride, and you could purchase the recording.
Oh my God.
The recording was $30. We did not purchase the recording, but you can watch it for free. But of course, you just got off the ride, so you don't have your phone yet, obviously, because your phone's still in the locker, so you can't record it either. But there are workers around there too that probably would tell you like you can't record. You have to purchase it for $30. So it took us a while to find ourselves in the ride. We found ourselves, and then Ted's like, well, let's watch the video. And when we watched the video, it was so funny. Like we were both hysterically laughing because you just see me like screaming on this ride with my eyes squeezed shut. And I don't know what song Ted did, but Ted was singing along to his song. I was like, my song had no. Yeah, Ted's like singing along, like jamming out to this song.
He was probably metal rock.
I know, that's what I was saying. And it's like my song has no words. So I was like, there's no words to my song. It's just music. It's just a beat basically because it's electric music. So, but I will say it's definitely worth it to watch the video because it is really funny. It is really fun. Again, we just happened to see that little screen to watch the video. So worth it to watch the video. Very fun. Yeah, in a way, it's like, should we have bought the video? Maybe, but I don't know. $30 just seemed like kind of a lot to buy this video.
Seems like a lot to just, yeah, you'll never see that. You'll watch it once or twice and then it'll go someplace in a drawer, someplace.
I know, but it was really fun at least to watch the video in the moment. So, all right. So after we got off that ride, there were a few options we could have done. There is this Jimmy Fallon Island, like through New York ride or whatever that's there. The ride is a 3D 4D experience, but where it was, we would have had to walk further away from the exit, and we're like, let's just not do that. So I didn't even tell Ted that ride existed until the next day, actually. And so instead we went over, now we're sort of in like the Minions land, so to speak. So there's 2 Minions rides, and there's one Minions ride where I think it's a game. We didn't do that one for whatever reason. I'm not really sure why we didn't do that one. And then there was the Minions Mayhem ride, and I had heard that the Minions Mayhem ride was really fun. A lot of people really liked it. Everyone says you had to do the Minions Mayhem ride. They said that one was notorious that the Express Pass always had a long line as well for Minions Mayhem. So I told Ted, I was like, this is a kid ride, but I was like, but I really want to see what it is because I've heard it's supposed to be really good. So he was like, okay, you know, Ted, he doesn't mind going on anything. So all right, so we get online for it. I will say, if you like the Despicable Me movies or the Minions movies, it is really cool because like you go through like Gru's house a little bit. So it was really cool to see that. There were a lot of pre-shows in my opinion, like maybe too many pre-shows in my opinion. So lots of pre-shows that you kind of go through that sets you up for the ride. Essentially the ride is making you a minion. So he's using a device on you to turn you into a minion. And then you're going to go through minion training. And then at the end, of course, then someone hits a device by accident and you turn back into a human, of course. So unlike the Mission Space ride in Epcot, that just leaves you on Mars, you do get turned back into a human at the end of this ride. So the ride itself, I thought was interesting because I thought it was going, I feel bad saying this, I thought it was going to be a real ride, but all it is that you basically sit in this really large theater and these seats that is kind of like 4 little space, like an aisle 4, and there's like 4 tiers of like seats. So it's like this really big like amphitheater type theater, and the little benches will rise up and move around, and there's this huge screen, kind of like Soarin' big screen, and this like that's kind of what it is that it's another little thing that shakes you around as you watch a screen. And so we're sitting there, and it was cute, but again, another thing where it's like it turns you upside down on the ride, you're flying all over the place, like all this stuff.
But you're not really going anywhere.
But you're not. You're just sitting in your little seat, and it's just kind of shaking you around a little bit. So I get to, again, it's like, especially for kids, I think would like this because it's a thrill ride, but again, you're not actually moving anywhere, so it's really not that intense. But it is fun, especially if you like the Minions, I would say too. So we get off the ride, and I remember I told Ted, it's like, I didn't think it was going to be like that. I thought it was going to be way different. Like, I thought it was going to be way better, in my personal opinion. I didn't really think it was really that great. I mean, like, if you like the Minions, of course it'll be great if your kid loves them, but I thought it would have been better, was my personal opinion on that. So after we do that, now we're sort of at the front of the park, and this is where the Wicked experience was. Now, I completely forgot that the Wicked experience was here in Universal Studios Orlando, but my best friend Tyler absolutely loves Wicked, and he really wanted me to get him a certain sweatshirt that was only sold at this Wicked experience. So we go in the experience. I didn't even know what it was because I don't really keep up with all the things with Wicked. They had all of the costumes on full display. It was so cool. I saw all of the costumes.
Oh,
like
wow. I would have liked to have seen that.
The pink dress, and then a few days later, Wicked won the Oscar for best costumes, which was incredible. It's like, yeah, I just saw those costumes in person. Absolutely stunning. Like, I saw the big pink dress that Glinda wears. I saw like the little robe that she wears when she dances.
Wow.
I saw Nessa Rose's like the shoes, the silver slippers, so beautiful. I saw Elphaba's costumes, even the broom and stuff like that she was holding. The wizard's costume, Fiero's costume, even the Grimoire, like the model of the book was there too. So much cool stuff was here, and I didn't expect it. I was like, this is amazing to see all these like live costumes that were in the movie, and then for them to win the best costume at the Oscars was just so cool to see. It's like, yeah, that they deserved it. Their costumes were phenomenal. And so unfortunately, the item that Tyler wanted, my friend, was sold out. They didn't have it, so we ended up not getting him anything because they didn't have the other stuff that he wanted to see. So yeah, but then it's funny, they had this broom there, like the broom that Elphaba rides, that you could take a photo with. So I asked Ted, oh, can you take a photo of me with the broom? So he takes the photo, but then he cropped out the broom, and I didn't see it until afterwards. So I look at the photo, and I look really cute in the photo, but I was just like, why didn't you get the broom in the photo?
That's the whole idea.
And he was like, well, I didn't realize that's what you wanted. I'm like, why was I standing next to the broom? I was like, what do you think this photo was for? And it's funny, I sent it to Shannon and Tyler too, and I was just like, oh yeah, it's like they had the broom you could take a photo with, but Ted cropped it out. And Shannon's like, well, your outfit looks really cute still. And I'm like, oh, thanks. But it's like, I don't know if I'll ever post it because like, it just looks like I'm holding onto a stick next to me. Just like, I don't know. So I'm sure I could always try to Photoshop it, but it's just funny how we took that photo. So So at this point now, we're getting close to what time is it? Let me check my notes here. It's 4:45, I would say at this point. So at this point, again, we've been going the whole day. We haven't eaten now since like 11:30. So we're kind of debating because I said there's a few more rides in this part of the park that we haven't gone on. So we haven't gone on E.T., we haven't done the Simpsons ride, and we haven't done Men in Black. So we're kind of heading over towards that part of the park. And Ted was saying, he's like, honestly, he's like, I'm pretty tired right now because at this point in the story, this is day 4 of parks, right? So we've already done I did the Princess Half Marathon at Epcot, then we did Hollywood Studios, then we did Magic Kingdom, and this is our 4th full park day. So we're both kind of feeling it. So we're like, all right, let's just find food. All right, so like maybe that's number 1. Let's look for food. So we look on the Universal's app, and we're kind of looking through the different food options, but none of the places that were in our immediate area really had anything that we wanted to eat. We checked some of the places in City Walk as well, and as we were looking in City Walk, I was like, honestly, like none of these places really sound like that interesting too. They were obviously all very overpriced because you're in a theme park, So, you know, they have you there. So as we're sitting kind of by these other cars. We were kind of back by that diner that had all like the classic cars out front. So we were looking at the cars, sitting by the cars, looking at our phones for things that we wanted to do. And I just jokingly said to Ted, like, well, I mean, like we drove here, so we don't have to eat here. So we can just go eat at Carrabba's, which is one of our favorite restaurants. And Ted was like, wait, maybe we should do that. So I was just like, wait, do you really just want to go to Carrabba's? So we did. We left the park and we just went to Carrabba's and we had Carrabba's at night.
Yeah, especially you're down there on International Drive where there's every restaurant you could ever think of.
Well, it's funny. When we drove to Universal that morning, we passed a Carrabba's and I thought to myself, I was like, oh, we could always go there for dinner. So yeah, so we went to a different Carrabba's actually for dinner. But yeah, we went to Carrabba's for dinner. We went to the one that was on International Drive. And it's funny because when we got there was this parking structure and it said that you had to pay to park in the parking structure. And we're like, well, we don't really want to have to pay for parking right now. So we went over to this other area that was by the restaurant and it was all valet parking. And we're like, how come everywhere in this area is valet parking? And I guess it was like a touristy type spot. It was right by where the big swings are. So it's like there's the swings and where like the Orlando Eye is around.
Sure, that's
so
why they want people are going to be.
But then we went back to the parking garage and realized if you parked on level 4 to 6, those are free parking spots. So we're like, okay, so we just parked on like level 6 and it was fine. So we parked on level 6, went to Carrabba's. Carrabba's is always great. And then we went back to Bay Lake. Then when we got back to Bay Lake, I think the day, or was it the day previous? Yeah, the day previous, I had bought a Rice Krispie treat on Main Street. So I was going to have that for dessert. Because that low key was one of my biggest concerns. I didn't have dessert for that night because we didn't buy anything at Universal. So I was just like, all right, well, because I says, well, maybe first I'll head over to Contemporary to get something like a cupcake or something like that. But I was like, oh no, I bought that Rice Krispie treat. So I had my Rice Krispie treat. The next morning we were decide we were going to sleep in a little bit. Because again, we have been getting up, crack of dawn every day, going to the parks, full park days, 4 days in a row. The next day we did sleep in just a little bit. But by the time we got to the park, it was still only, so before we got to the park, we were like, well, let's go get food first. So we went to Chipotle first. We were like, you know, we might as well at this point. We realized after going to Carrabba's, like we don't need to eat in the parks to spend the park money. It's like we can eat wherever we want to eat.
Right, because you're going right past all that stuff.
Yeah, so Ted was like, where do you want to eat? And I told him his favorite spot is Chipotle. So I was like, well, do you want to go to Chipotle? And he was like, oh yeah, let's go to Chipotle. So we went to Chipotle. And so then by the time we got to the parks, like after eating Chipotle and everything, it was like 12:30 when we got to the parks. So at that point I said, like, all right, well, let's start with Islands of Adventure. Because again, the day previous, all we did in Islands of Adventure was Hogsmeade and the Harry Potter Castle. And then we immediately went to Universal Studios to do Diagon Alley. And then we did almost all of Universal Studios. So all right, let's do Islands of Adventure. So we get there. The first area that you kind of walk through is like the Marvel area. So the first ride we go on is the Hulk coaster. So the Hulk coaster is a very intense roller coaster. And it's same thing with the Hollywood Riptide coaster, the red coaster, that you have to walk through the metal detectors. So you have to put your stuff in the locker and then you go on the ride. I will say I did really like the Hulk coaster. I think one of the best parts about the Hulk coaster is that when you get on, it's sort of you know how you have like the chain that brings you up. You're sort of on this chain that's bringing you up slowly, and then in the middle of it, it turns into a launch. So it kind of surprised you that it's going to become a launch coaster, like in the middle of like slowly going up, which I thought was really fun. And so that coaster I think was really fun. It has a lot of upside down on that coaster. Like you were constantly upside down on that coaster. And so we get off that coaster, and then the next ride we go on is the Spider-Man ride. So I was really excited for this ride because 11 years ago, me and Shannon did not go on this ride. It was the only ride we didn't get on because the wait was like 4 hours 11 years ago, and we just couldn't do it. Like, because we'd only done the 2 parks that day, and at the end of the day, we were too tired. We've went on so many lines today, like we can't do it. So we didn't do it. So I was very excited to go on the Spider-Man ride. And unfortunately, it was just like the Transformers ride. So it was the same exact ride. I kid you not. The same exact ride vehicle.
Just different things on the screen.
Yeah, same exact ride vehicle where you sit in the 3 rows of 4 with the little 3D glasses with the big thing that comes down so you can't see the side. And all it does is shake you around a lot when you look at the screen. Right. Now, the Spider-Man ride isn't as dizzying because it's not the Transformers that are like, I don't know, I can't describe how I feel about the Transformers because they're like fake people. I don't know how to describe it. But Spider-Man, you're going through all of his major villains, which I thought was funny. They try to shove every major villain into this ride. You're fighting all the major villains. It's very much from the comics, which I do appreciate. It's not based on the movies. It's really based on the comics, which is really cool. Okay. You're supposed to be working for like the Bugle, like the newspaper that Peter Parker works for, and you're supposed to be getting like the story of like what's going on, and you get caught up in like the web, so to speak, of like the problems that Spider-Man's having. Right. And so there's lots of times when like Spider-Man's like swinging you around, of course, you're being flown upside down multiple times. Like, you know, you're getting caught by the villains, you have to escape, you know, water is spraying at you because one of his villains is like a water dude and stuff like that. Right. One of the cool things in this ride is that this is the time frame of this when this takes place is in the early 1900s. So the whole idea was that someone was trying to like steal the Statue of Liberty. So at one point you go around and then you actually see this huge sculpture of like the Statue of Liberty as if you're like right face to face with it, which was kind of cool to see, but like that was low key it. Everything else was basically on the screens. So we get off the ride and I was sad that I actually was a little disappointed in that ride. I thought it was going to be better, but I think it's hard because I think if I had never been on a ride like that before, like if that was the only ride that Universal had of that ride, I would have thought maybe it was pretty cool.
Right, but because it's the same.
But because other rides in Universal basically are the same ride structure, it like kind of took away from it, I would say. So then we go through, I forget what this land's called. It's basically like the comic strip land, like the old comic comics. So like Popeye and Betty Boop and like all those characters, a lot of characters I didn't recognize because I don't really know those comic strips. And the Popeye's ride here was closed for refurbishment, so we didn't do that. And otherwise here, the only thing, there was like a water ride I think that was open, and then it was like food stuff, and you know, they could have gone there, but we basically walked right through it. So then I thought next, so the other part I was really excited about was the Jurassic Park stuff, because I absolutely love Jurassic Park. I think the movies are really fun. I love dinosaurs. Well, I love animals, and dinosaurs are like animals to a certain extent. So I was excited to see Jurassic Park. The first, there was the King Ka land, which I didn't know existed. So it was cool because we come to this King Ka section, and there was one ride for King Ka, and I was like, well, we got to go on it. It's like, this is so cool. Like, I didn't know this was even going to be here. So like the whole area was really cool. Like it was like it's like, if you've seen the movies before, it's like has like the big mountains and stuff like that, with the big, like, you know, the kind of in the mountain, like the facade of like King Ka, like the ape himself sort of in the mountain. We used our little express pass to get in. This was the longest line we waited on for express pass. I think we waited almost 20 minutes to get on this ride. And let me tell you my disappointment when the party bus rolled up. It was it was the same ride structure as Fast and Furious. The same exact ride, essentially.
That's
just
amazing
King
that they
Ka.
do that.
Same exact. It was
I've
wild
never
to
heard
me.
that.
Wild.
Okay.
So we get on the bus, and I told Ted, I was like, oh God, oh no. I was like, we just waited so long for this. And I told him, I was like, let's not get to Jurassic Park for us to do this. So we get on, and it really is. It's the same exact ride, just like King Ka themed, essentially. The big room that's like 360, all like the stuff going on. And it's hard because like these dinosaurs are attacking you, but it's hard because it's all screens. So it's not really that like it's supposed to be immersive, I guess, but it's like like you can tell it's like fake, I guess is the thing. Now, the one reason why this ride was better than Fast and Furious ride is that the last thing, because I haven't actually seen the King Ka movies, but I know King Ka himself is supposed to be this big mysterious type character. And like the archaeological mission I guess they were on was like searching for King Ka. So the last little thing that happens in the ride is you go through the whole thing with all the screens again. Oh my gosh, you're being shaken around this little bus. There's no seatbelt, mind you, so you're just shaking around like kind of for free. Is that you go around, and they had this life-size animatronic of King Ka himself. And I will say that was awesome. That was so
awesome.
cool.
Okay.
It's larger than life, like as big as you'd picture King Ka to be. Like you're basically just right in front of his eyes for the most part. He's so large, and he's like breathing, so you can kind of hear him breathing. And I would say that was really cool. So that was the coolest part. So that's the only reason why it's not as bad as Fast and Furious.
Okay. At least the ending was good.
Yeah, but the thing is though, is that I wish they invested more money into the ride to have more stuff like that, where like you saw like the King Ka characters, or it was like a roller coaster of some sort. I don't know, but it's like, I guess like space wise, obviously this ride takes up like no space because you're basically just going through like a
place,
little, you're kind of just going through like you do go through like a little loop, like you are on a bus that like drives around in like a circle, I would say. But yeah, but my disappointment when that party bus showed up, and I was like, damn, we're going on another bus. It's like, this is rough. So we get off the bus, and I was like, all right, let's get over to Jurassic Park now, right? So the Jurassic Park world. So we get over there. So the first is called River Adventure. So I had been on this ride again 11 years ago with Shannon, and this is like the water coaster ride, or the water like log flume ride, kind of like Splash Mountain. And so we got on the ride, and it wasn't really that hot that day, so I was like, hopefully we don't get too wet. And there were people full on ponchos, like we were gonna get soaked, and like I couldn't remember when I went on it like how wet we got on it. We weren't in the first row, luckily. We were in the second row. So we go on the ride. The ride starts off, you know, it's supposed to be this little slow ride, and I will say I do still think this ride is really cool because you see all the real dinosaur animatronics are there, which are really fun. Obviously, like the whole thing, the velociraptors like broke out, you know, and everything. Right. You're going through the whole thing, and then the final drop is really fun as well. Or like when you get into like the big room, right before the drop is like the big dinosaur comes out, kind of like a dinosaur in Animal Kingdom, where it's like the final dinosaur at the final comes out. And I will say that dinosaur animatronic was really cool. Like that one was really cool to see. Not as cool as some of the ones I've seen that are in like the Universal in China. Like some of those ones look way better than what we have, but still really cool, honestly, because it's all real. It's not screens. It's like all real animatronics are coming at you and stuff. You go down the drop. The ride was fun. We didn't get too wet. I got a little bit wet, but not too wet though. So that ride still stands. And what's funny is that as we were walking, we were trying to find the Velocicoaster, and I saw this pterodactyl ride with like, you know, it's kind of like this like pterodactyl where you like your feet are dangling, and it kind of takes you through like a little pterodactyl ride. And I was like, that looks so cute. And I told Ted, like, let's go be pterodactyls together and go on that pterodactyl ride. So we couldn't find the entrance to it. So I'm like, well, let's just do Velocicoaster. But I'd like to say they had the Discovery Center that they have in the movies. I don't know if you've seen the Jurassic Park movies or Jurassic World. There's like this Discovery Center that's like the museum part of it, but you have to go through the museum part to kind of get to the Velocicoaster. And so when we got to Velocicoaster, we were looking for the lockers because we've heard this is like the fastest coaster, all this stuff. We've heard from a lot of friends too, this is like the best roller coaster ever. And we couldn't find the lockers. We got confused, and we basically went through the exit. We tried to open a locker, couldn't open up the locker. Basically, we realized that the lockers work just like Tron. So if you've been on Tron, you do the lockers in the queue. So you get in the queue, and then when you're in the queue itself, it's like in the queue, they make you go put your stuff in the lockers, and then at the end of the ride, you open up the same locker like on the other side of the wall, essentially. Oh, okay. So it's kind of like how if you've been on Tron, it's the same ride concept. But like we didn't know that though, so we were just like dummy dumbs, and we just like we're trying to find the locker too soon. But those are the free lockers. Don't use the lockers inside of the Discovery Center because those lockers you pay for. There is a very small sign that says the free lockers for the ride or by the ride or closer to the ride. But if you miss that sign and you pay for the locker, obviously you don't pay for the locker. They do have the free lockers. So you go on Velocicoaster. I will say it had like a, like after the, it's like even after the express lane mixes with the regular lane, there is still quite a long queue to actually get on the ride. So the whole concept of the ride is that you're going to be like hunting with the Velociraptors essentially. So it's like they're going to be like let loose and you're going to be like hunting with them. And like Chris Pratt's character is like, that's a horrible idea, like all this stuff, like whatever. Kind of setting you up for the ride. It was really fun, I would say. I thought it was very immersive and like fun for the ride. You get on the coaster. The coaster was super fun. Ted did say that was his favorite coaster that we had ever been on. And it was very fun, I would say. You do go past, and it's funny because I close my eyes a lot on roller coasters, but I had heard you see the Velociraptors on the ride. So you see like Blue and like her team. And so I really wanted to see them. So I was like, well, my eyes have to stay open this whole time. Now the Velocicoaster doesn't really have any big drops though. So it's not really as scary in that sense. So I did see all the Velociraptors, and the ride is very fast. Like it's super fast and there's like little like loops and stuff like that. Although I actually found the Hulk coaster to be more intense than this coaster because the Hulk coaster has way more upside downs than this coaster does. This ride is just much faster, I would say. So it's like very, very fast. And I think a lot of people said too, it's like if you don't have your head all the way back, your head will like hit the side and stuff like that. Like I think Ted said his head hit the side as well. Also the way that the structure that you're in the ride, because you do go upside down, but most upside down coasters have like the over the top thing, like the little shoulder things. This one just has like a little lap bar thing.
Oh wow.
But they squeeze that lap bar thing into you like there's no tomorrow. Like Ted said that that his privates were being squished and he did not feel comfortable. He was like, this does not feel good. Just like, and I told him, like, well, can you scoot your butt back? He's like, there's nowhere to scoot. He's like, that person pressed that right into him. And he was like, oh my God. And I was like, well, I'm surprised they have that because obviously a lot of men are going to be on this ride. Yeah. So, but it's funny. I haven't heard a lot of reviews on this ride because I don't watch a lot of Universal stuff, but I wonder if other people have said is again, you can get squished on this ride. Obviously I felt fine as a woman, but it is scary because when you kind of do those upside downs or sideways, it does feel like you're going to fly out on this thing because it's like, you don't have like the little like shoulder thing on top of you. So in that way, it was kind of thrilling to be like, wow, I'm actually going to fly out and I'll be the first death here at Velocicoaster. So, but the ride was really cool. I would say the queue of the ride was really cool too because they have the Velociraptors. Like it's kind of sad. Like it's one of the things like it's fake, of course, but it's like they're in the little chain boxes with the muzzles on. So in a way, it's always sad to see an animal muzzled like that. So in that sense, it was really sad. But it is kind of cool to see it because it's like it does look real. Like it looks very real. Again, like their animatronics when they do them are phenomenal, and when they don't do them, it's just screams. So now we're trying to find that pterodactyl ride, right? So we're walking around the Jurassic Park thing. There's this little kids area that's like a little play area, kind of like the Boneyard. So we go in there to be like, I think maybe the entrance is in here. So we find the entrance. There's no express pass. It says 40 minutes. And Ted's like, that's fine. Let's just go on. We start to walk on, and the woman, because he said like, oh, is there express pass? She's like, no, it's just 40 minutes. And so we start to walk. She's like, oh, wait. And she looks at the two of us being like, actually, you guys are too tall for this ride. And then that's when we realized this was only for children. Like, it was fully a children's ride. And what we realized more is that there were some parents on the ride if your kid was too small to go on by themselves. So it was either like a parent and a child or just like two kids, but you couldn't have two adults on the ride. And we were like, oh, okay. So then we just walked away. But I was just like, wow, how sad was that? We just told them we can't go on the pterodactyl ride.
Go away.
So yeah, honestly, pretty sad in my opinion that we did get to do pterodactyl ride. I feel like in my head I wasn't gonna tell Ted. It's like, well, wait with me and then just don't do it and I'll just ride it by myself.
Well, tell him we want two separate ones. Give us a kid.
I know, right? It's like, which child can I take on with me? Is that child
going on by themselves?
I know, but I was just like, but it looks really fun though, because like your feet a little dangly, you kind of go all over this thing. I don't know.
You needed to get a kid.
I know, it's pretty sad that she told us that we couldn't do it. It's like, are you kidding me? It's like, I don't know. I thought that was interesting, but yeah. So we didn't do that.
Okay.
So at this point, then we kind of had done everything in Jurassic Park. We did spend some time where the water ride was, because we were thirsty, so we got some sodas, and we stood where like the water ride falls, and you see the people come off the water ride, you know, after the big fall and the big splash. Right. We stood there honestly for like 10 minutes, and it was really fun watching people come off and like people's reactions, how they would turn to each other and like laugh or like yell at each other, like, oh, we got so wet. So we did that for a while, and it was very entertaining watching the rides come down. Like I can see why a lot of people like to stand watching people on those rides, because there's always a reaction in every car. No matter what, there's always going to be a fun reaction. So, all right. So now at this point, I told Ted, like, I really want to do the Forbidden Castle ride again in Harry Potter World. So we weave our way back into Harry Potter World. We go on the castle ride. I've already talked at length about how much I loved Harry Potter World. So spoiler alert, I absolutely loved Harry Potter World. So we did the Harry Potter Castle again, because again, we had the Express Pass Unlimited. And so then at this point too, I really wanted to get a wand. So I was kind of debating if I wanted a wand or not for a long time before we got to the parks. So we ended up we did the little show in Ollivanders where it's like they kind of do the same things that Harry has happened to him in the movie they do in Ollivanders. And then I was looking at all the wands for a long time, and then finally I decided, like, it's funny, before we even went, I was like, Hermione Granger's wand is my favorite. I'm probably gonna get hers. Spent 10 to 15 minutes looking at wands, bought the Hermione Granger wand. What was the point of that? Who knows?
Just to make sure you got the one you really did want.
I know, but it was worth it. I'm glad I got my wand. I was like, I held it for the rest of the time. I was like waving around, like pretending. I didn't do a single of the interactions. So I think I mentioned this in the last episode, but yeah, basically when you buy the wand, it comes with a map of Hogsmeade and Diagon Alley. And on the map, it shows you where the interactions are, the spells that you would say, and the wand movement. I didn't see that in the map. I just thought it was a map. Saw it was a map, put it away, didn't look at it again, not realizing what that map was. So yeah, I didn't do any of the wand interactions, but I did play around with my wand, and you can see on like the little tip of my wand that is an interactive wand if I wanted to go interact, with the stuff. We took lots of photos with my wand then. What's funny too is that I forgot to mention this last episode, but some people had these little pouches where you could put your wand in the pouch, so you could wear it like kind of like on your waist, like on your belt or something like that.
Oh, okay.
So you didn't have to have it in your hand the whole time, which was kind of cute. But I literally just held it in my hand the whole time. I literally didn't even like put it down. But I did ask for a bag because it comes in a box. So it's like, well, I don't want to carry the box around, and I didn't have like a purse with me. So we did get a bag. At this point, then the Ted got another beer. So there was the Hogshead, which is like a bar in Harry Potter World, and the day before he also got a Guinness from the Hogshead, so we got another Guinness there. So we sat there a little bit when he had his beer. At this point, we had basically done everything in Islands of Adventure. So what time is it? Let me look at my notes real quick. Yeah, it's 4:00 right now, but again, we only got to the park at like 12:31, so it's 4:00 now. So within like 3 hours, we basically did everything we wanted to do in the park. And so we weren't going to do Dr. Seuss Land because it was all kids rides, and there was nothing in the Lost Continent. So Ted was saying, he's like, well, we didn't do this few rides in Universal Studios. He was like, let's take the train back over and finish up that stuff. So I was like, okay, sounds good. So we got back on the train, went back to Universal Studios, and we didn't even go into Diagon Alley. We just walked right over to the first ride, which was the Men in Black ride. So we got in. So Men in Black ride was another ride where you couldn't take your stuff on you, although I feel like you definitely could have taken your stuff. Like there was no reason why you couldn't take your stuff on. The Men in Black ride is like a shooting game, like the Buzz Lightyear game essentially, or like Toy Story Mania. But I would say it's more like the Buzz Lightyear game, but the little guns come out so you can actually hold the gun on a string. And that ride was so cool because all the aliens, like it's kind of again, just like the Buzz Lightyear ride where all the stuff is real. It's not screens like Toy Story Mania, and they just have the little targets on them. Actually, there were no targets on them now that I think about it. No targets on them, just the little aliens.
Shoot them.
And you just shoot the aliens. And at first Ted was like, how do you know where to shoot? And I'm like, I think you just shoot at the aliens. Because at first I had like 200,000 points and he had nothing. And he was like, where am I shooting? And I was like, I think we're just shooting the aliens. Once he realized that, then of course 10 got like 2 million points, of course, and he beat me way better once he realized where he had to shoot. But the ride was really fun though, I would say that. It's like you shoot all these aliens, it kind of spins you around a lot when you're shooting the aliens. You go through this whole thing like through the streets. There's lots of aliens to shoot at. There's like all these like Men in Black. It's like these little crazy character aliens and stuff like that. I would say that was one of the best rides, honestly. It was so fun. We both had so much fun on the ride itself. And it's funny because when we got off, we were like, we definitely could have brought our bag on this ride, but we did put it in the little free locker. But yeah, so much fun. Would definitely recommend that ride. And so then next up is technically the Simpsons area. So the Simpsons area does look really cool, but Ted wanted to save that ride for last because he really likes the Simpsons. So he wanted to go into, I forget what the diner is called, but Moe's Diner, right? Mel's Diner. No, I think it's Moe's Diner.
Moe's Diner? I thought it was Mel's.
No, I think it's called Moe's.
Oh, okay. I might have it mixed up with another show I used to watch when I was a kid. Okay.
Yeah, whatever it is, whatever the diner is that, this Homer always goes and has like the drinks in. He wanted to go into that diner. Oh,
it's part of that one.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yes. I'm sorry.
Yeah, part
I
of like
it
the
mixed up with
Simpsons
something
world. Yeah, I think it's Moe's. I'm not really sure though.
I forget. Yeah, I've seen The Simpsons here and there, but
yeah, I don't watch The Simpsons personally. So Ted was like, well, let's do this class because I want to get a beer here, before we leave. So I was like, okay. So first we skipped that and we walked over to the ET ride. Now, the infamous story from the ET ride was when I went to Universal when I was a child, then again when I was in high school, and then now. So 3 times been to Universal. That first time when we went as kids, I guess you can tell the story better than I can.
Well, we went, Amanda was very young, and we went because we were with Joe's family down there, and they wanted to go to Universal, but I had 2 young kids. Luke could go on some stuff, but Amanda was way too young to go on anything. She was way under whatever had to be. So we spent most of the day just walking around. And the only one she could go on really was E.T. We got on the line, and I remember it broke down like 3 times. And they kept saying, no, don't leave. It's going to come back. It's going to come back. It's going to come back. We spent an inordinate amount of time on this line, which is inside, if I remember. So you're not outside, you're inside. It's dark. It's whatever. We got all the way up to the front. We're about to get on, and it broke down again. So we're standing there. It comes back up, and Amanda looks at me and says, I'm not getting on this ride. So I wasn't going to force her. We walked out. E.T. ride.
When I was a kid, I was really scared of E.T. I think a lot of people think he's cute. I personally don't think
she's
he's
like,
cute.
I'm not going on that ride.
To this day, I still think he looks kind of weird. I don't know. It's like, I don't find him to be cute, even though I know a lot of people do. I know a lot of people find the movie to be endearing. I didn't. I thought he was weird and creepy personally. And I still hold to that opinion today.
Okay.
But I told Ted, I was like, all right, we're going to go on the E.T. ride because it's like, I didn't go when I was a kid. Me and Shane didn't go on when we were here. So let's go on and see what it's all about. They go in the queue. There's a little pre-show first about this whole thing about how like you're going to help E.T.'s family. I don't know what the plot of the movie is. I don't know if this is the
E.T.
plot of the
lands
movie.
here and he finds the little girl that helps him to go home. He wants
So
to
in
go
this
home.
one, they're saying that
that's all I remember.
Yeah, E.T.'s home planet was dying, and they needed E.T.'s powers basically at his home planet to like revive the home planet. Essentially, is what we were being told in the screen. So then they said in order to go, like you had to know everyone's name. So it's like they're going to give you this card with your name card in order to get on the ride with your card with like your name thing. Which I was like, are they really going to ask every single person's name in this room? Because there are a lot of people in this room.
Yeah.
And sure enough, you file into these single file lines. They ask you what your name is. They pretend to type your name into the thing. Then they hand you a little card. I kid you not, 2 seconds later, when you go through the queue, you just hand the card back to a different person.
Oh, what a waste of
On the
time.
ride.
Okay.
I'm like, I'm sure this was probably cute back in the day, but it's kind
Yes.
of hokey now in present day. Now, when we were in this part of the queue before you get on the ride, you see E.T.'s, I think it's like his father or something like that in the queue. And I distinctly remember the animatronic because that is what scared me as a
Scared you.
child. Was this alien dude who looks just like E.T., maybe a little bit older than E.T. because E.T. is supposed to be a child. And I remember just thinking that they were the creepiest, scariest things ever when I was a kid. I still think they're kind of weird as an adult. So I remember seeing him on the queue and being like, wow, that's crazy. That's what I was scared of as a child. I remember standing right here and crying. So we get onto the ride. And the ride is supposed to be like you're sitting on a bike, but it's not. You're sitting in a seat and it's just like looks like a bike.
Okay.
Just like
'Cause that was the whole thing. It was supposed to be like, I kept saying, you sure you don't want to get on the bike? And you were like, no, don't want to go.
No, you don't even sit on a bike. It's like a fake bike. It's just a
Okay.
bench. So-
Okay.
And what's funny on this too is that your feet don't even dangle. There's like a platform that's beneath you. So just like the Hagrid's ride where you're not on a real motorcycle, you're not on a real bike either. So,
Okay.
but you do have to hang your bag from the bike. Like they say, like things can't be on the floor. So when the ride starts, I actually recorded the whole ride on my phone because we were in the first row anyway. So it's like, I might as well record it because my mom did get to go on it. So I recorded the whole thing. It will be in the vlog one day if you ever want to watch it. Now, the interesting part about this ride is that it's similar to the Peter Pan's flight where you dangle and everything.
That's
is
what I
beneath you.
expected. Okay.
Yeah, everything's beneath you.
Okay.
Now the ride itself, I don't know E.T. that well. So the ride starts with like the police trying to capture you. So I guess E.T. because he's an alien, they're trying to capture you.
I guess so. I don't remember
you're
the movie.
like very lightly being
Yeah.
like chased by the police, so to
Okay.
speak. Then I don't know how we get there, but we get to E.T.'s home planet by magic. I'm not sure.
Okay.
I'm kind of blanking how we got to E.T.'s home planet. E.T.'s home planet is insane. It is like literally Ted turned to me on the ride and being like, wow, it would be crazy if you were like on mushrooms in this room right now because it is wild to be in there. For someone who has never seen the ride, has no nostalgia for it, I was like, this is weird. I was like, this is weird. And don't get me wrong, there is things like Ted thinks Figment is weird, right? Like Ted thinks like the Enchanted Tiki Room is kind of weird because he didn't really grow up with it. It's like I could see
Yeah.
it being weird if you've never seen it. That's how I felt on this ride, being like, wow, this is weird.
Okay.
But even Ted was like, yeah, if you were on shrooms on this ride, this would be insane.
Insane. You'd go crazy. Okay.
Like insane. It's like the weird little. It's like because not all the aliens look like ET. It's funny because
See, I don't remember anything about it.
some of the aliens. It's like I'll show you the
I
video
don't even think
afterwards.
I don't even think I saw the whole ET movie before we went the first
well,
time.
that's the thing. I was like, was this in the movie? I
Yes.
have no idea.
I have no idea,
Like
because
ET's home planet. Like some of these
The
aliens.
only
that were on
thing
this
I
ride-
remember is the joke was E.T. phoned home and his finger was something he
was
had to
the
do with
little
his
light.
finger. Right,
Yeah,
his light.
'cause that's
and
the thing,
And
like-
what's her name? Was it Drew Barrymore or Dakota?
Well, there's no
something?
people in the ride.
Well,
it's just
one of
you.
the little girl that he does the thing with was one of these actresses now that was a child star at the time. That's all I remember.
But that's what I'm saying. I don't think this was in the movie. Is the thing
No.
because there was all these like crazy little
No.
alien characters.
Not
in
that
this.
I don't think so.
All this crazy stuff. It like literally was just. It's like out of like someone's imagination. Truly, it's all real. No screens. That's what I was more shocked
Wow.
at. And I guess it makes sense because this is an older ride, right?
Right.
And so it's like it's all real. And like in the way that was the coolest part about it was that it was all real.
Real.
After going from so many rides with all screens, this was the first one that was
one.
fully real, which was really exciting to see. So we get off the ride. I told Ted, I was like, yeah, that would have terrified me as a child. Like I would have
Good
not
thing we
liked
didn't
that
get
at
on.
all as a
Yeah.
kid. Especially when you got to the weird alien part in his home planet. I would have been very scared of that. I know for sure.
And
like,
it
that would've
was
scared me.
pitched as a kid's ride. It wasn't
Yeah.
like they said like you'll be aware.
Well,
you know.
I think it is supposed to be a kid's ride. I
Yeah.
think I just found those types of creatures to be creepy
Yeah.
to me. But it's funny, when we got off, the people that were walking behind me were saying, it's like, oh, like, I love that ride. It's always such a classic to go on that ride type of thing.
Yeah,
and
see?
I realized he probably grew up going to Universal and always went on that ride.
Right.
So it like
So they're
it's a
used to
special
it,
place
right.
for them. You know, the way that I see Figment or see the
Right.
Enchanted Tiki Room. So I totally get it, but it's just not for me personally, and I don't have nostalgia for it personally. So that's all it is.
So
to
when you
say
go
on that.
back, you're not going on
But it was
ET.
a cool ride. I'd probably skip it, yeah. So then we go over to the final ride of the day. We've made it for 46 minutes in recording. We made it to the final
Final
ride.
day.
Lord, my Lord and Savior. So
Okay.
we go on the Simpsons ride. There's actually kind of a long wait for the Simpsons ride. The way you line up for it was kind of weird because it's supposed to be like you're at a carnival, you know, like the Clown's Carnival. I don't know the clown's name. I'm so sorry, but it's like you're at the Clown's
Yeah, I
Carnival.
remember him on
Krusty
the
the Clown,
thing,
right?
yeah.
So you're at your carnival. Like one of the characters like broke out of prison and stuff like that. So it's like this whole thing, you know, the little plot of it. So you get on the ride. Well, we're going into like what the ride is going to be. And in my head, I'm like, I don't know what this ride is. I'm like, is it a roller coaster? Is it like another animatronic animatronic type ride? I'm not really sure. So what do you know? You walk in, you sit in this little bench, the thing closes, it rises you up, and it's just a screen. And that's all it is. And I was just like, yes, it's just a screen. Now I will say The Simpsons, the ride itself was funny in the sense that, The Simpsons always has lots of little jokes in it, So it had a lot of little Easter eggs in the screen as you're going past, like things that they didn't even say, just like visual things that were just very funny. So you did find yourself laughing on the ride a lot, and it was funny. But again, the same concept, you're supposed to be on the roller coaster breaks, you're flying all over the place, it's shaking you around aggressively, the little water swirling at you. And I was just like, I think I've had enough times of being in a little box, being shaken around and staring at a screen. I think I'm done with it. I don't think I can do anymore. And this was our last ride anyway. So we get off the ride, we leave. And again, the whole thing's supposed to be like a carnival. So it's like this really tiny room that you're into. Like it's kind of claustrophobic to a certain extent. We go over to the diner. Ted has a beer. At this point now, it's like a little bit after 6. It's like 6:15, and the park closes at 7, mind you. So Ted gets a beer, and he was last call. We didn't know he was last call because anyone else who came in afterwards, the bartender said they were closed. So we're like, okay. So Ted has his beer, and then we're like, well, what should we get for dinner? I mean, like the park closes at 7, so clearly we're not staying here. So we're just like, we could go to City Walk. And then Ted has always really loved the sit-down Pizza Huts back when he was a child. We had actually passed a sit-down Pizza Hut in International Drive. So I told him, I was like, do you just want to go to a sit-down Pizza Hut? You haven't been to one in years. So that's what we chose to do. We ended up going to the sit-down Pizza Hut. So what's funny is that this whole time, there's some of the things I haven't mentioned yet. So now let's get into some of the things I thought were just interesting about Universal. So when we were going, it was, again, the last week of February. So it was the week before Mardi Gras. So Universal was having this big Mardi Gras party that in Universal Studios with this big parade, all this stuff. And everywhere you went, there's like signs for it. I had no idea that this was happening. I was just like, okay, cool, whatever. I'm not like a Mardi Gras person personally. I'm not really like a partier or a drinker type personality. So I was like, okay. When we had arrived the second day, this woman called us and she was like, oh, can you fill out a quick survey? I was like, sure. We did the survey. The survey was all about the Mardi Gras stuff. Like, did you know about Mardi Gras? Are you interested in Mardi Gras? All this stuff. And I was like, no. I had no idea what that was. I'm only here for Harry Potter, if I'm being really honest. Right. Harry Potter and Jurassic Park are the only two things I'm really here for. So when we would walk around the park, Ted noticed at first before I did that. Sometimes you would say, it's like, oh yeah, we're here. It's like, oh, we have park to park. And if we were in Islands Adventure, you'd be like, oh, are you going to go do the Mardi Gras parade later? And we're like, oh no, we're probably not going to do that. It's like, I don't know. We'll see. When we were in Harry Potter World, a lot of the time when you're in, like for instance, in Galaxy's Edge, when you're in Galaxy's Edge and you talk to the cast members that are in Galaxy's Edge, they make you feel like you're only in Galaxy's Edge. Right. And like the Hollywood Studios doesn't exist. It's like, Toy Story Land is next to it, but Toy Story Land doesn't exist. You're only in Galaxy's Edge. You're on
it's immersive, right?
Yeah. When we were in Harry Potter World in Hogshead getting his drink, we said, like, oh yeah, it's like we're here. It's like we're probably going to take the train to Diagon Alley, and that's how we said it to her. And she said, are you guys going to go do the Mardi Gras stuff and at the other side of the park? And we said, no, probably not. And so I thought it was interesting that she brought up the Mardi Gras stuff in the Harry Potter world, because you would have thought she would have pretended that didn't exist outside the Harry Potter world. But what Ted noticed is that we had multiple people who worked at Universal bring up the Mardi Gras parade dress and the Mardi Gras celebrations, and Ted was like, they are shoving Mardi Gras down
because that's what their thing is. They do the Halloween nights, they do the Mardi Gras.
Like, they were forcing you to like go look at the Mardi Gras. They wanted you to say, wow,
we went to a Mardi Gras party.
But it was like, to a certain extent, like I didn't notice at first, but once Ted said that, you realize that every place we went, like they asked you. When Ted bought his t-shirt, it's like, oh, you guys doing the Mardi Gras stuff later? We're like,
you're probably told, push the Mardi Gras.
It's like, you must mention Mardi Gras to every customer you talk to.
Make sure you push the Mardi Gras
Everyone
theme.
Must be at that Mardi Gras parade later today. And what was the worst part? When we were leaving the park, the Mardi Gras parade was happening and we couldn't get out of the park because we were on the wrong side of the park and you couldn't cross the road.
Did they at least throw beads out from the parade?
So that's the big thing. All these, I will say, the floats were pretty beautiful. I will say all these beautifully
I've been to Mardi Gras in New Orleans
and they
twice.
throw the beads at you. Every float is throwing beads. There were people were like, it was like covered the heaviest scarf of beads. Children, adults, everyone had all these beads. Now I tried to get a bead and people were aggressive getting these beads. So I couldn't catch a bead from someone because people were really aggressive, which is fine. They were really into the beads. So I found one on the floor and just picked it up and took it. So I got one bead. Yeah. So Ted got none.
It's like that in New Orleans too. The parades throw out all the stuff off the floats and people just, they go crazy.
I know.
And the more beads you have, the more, more status you have. And
yeah, exactly.
Fancy, well, I don't know how they did it in Universal.
I think they were all just the cheap beads. Yeah, they all look the same.
In New Orleans, there was a hierarchy of which beads you got. There were nice beads, there were cheap beads, and believe me, there was a hierarchy of what beads people would go for.
Sure.
So anybody who's there wants free stuff. Yeah. It's like, any place you go, people want free stuff. They want to go home. I actually was in Universal on St. Patrick's Day once. Years ago, Daddy and I went to when we first met, we went to a weekend in Florida with his friend, Bob and Andrew, who lived down there. And we went to Universal one day. And it was actually St. Patrick's Day. And they had a parade and they had the bar that was open. I came home with, paper glasses, tattoos on my face, beads, wands, things, things. They were giving tons of stuff away because it was St. Patrick's Day. So
Well, yeah, this was not actual Mardi Gras day, but again, tons of beads everywhere. We couldn't get out of the park.
Yeah.
We finally got out of the park. So we finally left, but it was just so funny. They were like, wow, they really want people to like be celebrating Mardi Gras in this park right now. And there were big signs of it everywhere, but it's like, again, we were asked to, it's like, oh, did you come to the park for Mardi Gras? It's like, no, I came to the park for Harry Potter. It's like, I didn't even know Mardi Gras was happening. I didn't even know you guys did this in this park. It's like, I'm not a Universal person. I'm a Disney person. So sorry. So again, we went to Pizza Hut and that was that. So some last few things I would say about the park. So again, we had Express Pass Unlimited. I think the best part about Express Pass is that there's no callback time. So you can just get on that line whenever you want.
You don't have to worry about your timing.
Absolute. That's the best part about Express Pass is that you don't have to plan your day on your phone trying to figure out when your next line is going to be. You just get on the line. Now, yes, do you wait on a short line for some of them? Yes. Again, the Kingda Ka ride, we waited like maybe 20 to 30 minutes for. Was it kind of like looking back on the ride? We would not have done that, obviously. But again, it's like, is it worth it? I do think overall it is worth it. I don't know if Disney could do the same thing. I think Disney's structure of the parks and like who comes to the parks and their rides, I think would struggle a little bit with not having the callback times for like the organization of it. But I will say that was the best part of the Express Pass. I will say that the Express Pass Unlimited probably was not worth it because we only went on one ride twice, honestly.
Yeah, that wasn't worth
So we
the
definitely
money.
didn't need to get Express Pass Unlimited. We probably can just get the regular Express Pass and then that
and
would
just
be
go
it.
on once, right?
Yeah, so I think that would be it. And honestly, I don't even know what some of the regular lines would have looked like because we used Express Pass for everything except for Hagrid's ride, which didn't offer
Well, I
Express
think
Pass.
that's also a deal where you know you're only going for those 2 days and you want to get everything in and you don't want to take a chance that it happens to be one of those busy days when you're waiting 2 hours for everything.
Yeah, so that's my next note is that, so we did 2 full days in Universal. I think if we were going to go back to Universal, we would probably just do at least 1 day for Islands of Adventure and Universal Studios. Epic Universe was not open when we went to this, but of course in the future, Epic Universe will be open. We probably would
Right, they'll have extra stuff to do.
But for Islands of Adventure and Universal Studios, genuinely, there aren't really enough rides I liked enough for 2 full days. Now, we spent most of our day in Harry Potter World, but if we were only going, I would really only go on the Harry Potter rides, the Velocicoaster, the Islands of Adventure ride, like the whatever the water ride was in Jurassic Park, and maybe the Men in Black ride as well. I really liked as well too. But honestly, the rest of the rides I could probably skip. It's like, yeah, the whole coaster is really fun. Maybe we'll do that. Maybe the Hollywood Riptide coaster
Would
is
that
fun.
still
We'd do that.
hold once they do the universe, though?
So, well, Epic Universe is different because that park is not even close to the other parks.
Oh, that's
I
right.
think
You
that's
said
the
you have
main-
to get in a car and drive over.
Yeah, I feel like that's the main challenge I think is going to be with Epic Universe is that it's not physically close to them. So in order to park hop, you have to get into your car and repark the car and like drive over. So it'll be interesting. But anyway, so for the parks, I would say for these 2 parks, I think the only things that for me that would be worth it is the Harry Potter stuff and then getting just a few rides outside of Harry Potter. But otherwise, I would skip a lot of it. So for instance, I think Ted said it best. He said that the Universal rides had some of the absolute best rides it's ever been on, but it also had some of the absolute worst rides it's ever been on. And that's really what it felt like. Like the rides that they do well are absolutely phenomenal, but then the rest of them to me are not really worth it. Like I would not go in Transformers again, would not go in Spider-Man again, would skip Fast and Furious, the Kingda Ka ride, the Minions stuff, all this stuff with all of these screens and 3D things, virtual
Not your
experiences
idea of fun.
are not worth it. And then we didn't even go on the Jimmy Fallon ride, but that was also another 3D experience. They were like, we do not need to watch another screen and be shaking around in a box. Like there were only so many times I could be shaking around in a box in one day with the 3D glasses on. The other note too is that I don't know if this is just the time that we went or what the park hours are, but the park did close at 7 p.m. The sun is still up at 7 p.m. And a lot of the food places were closed at like 6 to 6:15. So it's like as you're leaving the park, a lot of stuff is closing. And we noticed that too because when we left right before 7 p.m., like all the popcorn stands were closed, like a lot of like some of the gift shops are still open, but all the food places and drink places were closed by like 6:30 essentially. And so I did think that was interesting that it's like the park already closes way earlier than all of the other Disney parks. Like Magic Kingdom doesn't even have their fireworks until 8 p.m., you know? So it's like you
and
can
their
potentially
food and everything is open until
that's what I'm saying.
it's
Everything
done.
for the most part is still open.
Right.
It's like maybe some of the carts closed, but some of the things are still open. So it's like I just thought it was kind of interesting that all this stuff closed, especially because City Walk is open until like midnight. So it's just like you could still stay in
Maybe
City
that's
Walk
what they're
until
looking for.
midnight.
They're looking to funnel the people into
Yeah,
City
into
Walk.
City
to spend
Walk,
the
I
money.
guess. I don't know, but I did think that was interesting. And I've heard people online say that as well, that it's just like, how come the parks are closing so early? Like, how come they're not extending the hours? Is it because it's like, it's not worth it for them to keep the park like 9 to 7? It's like, even then the park doesn't even open that early. So it's like, although I do think there are early hours for like the Universal Resort people, you know?
Well, if you stay at the resort,
Yeah, so I
like
think they
do
can
with
get in a little bit
Disney,
earlier, but for
right.
the regular people, it's just 9 to 7. So it's just like the park hours, like, you know, it's just not really that wide of a window. So I wonder when Epic Universe does open, like how that will affect the park hours, what it will look like. 'Cause for you to do 3 parks in one day and the parks are only open 9 to 7, it's like if the park was open 9 to 9 or 9 to 10, you'd have more hours in the day to do stuff. Also, that means you can't do any of these roller coasters at night. Specifically for Epic Universe, the new Werewolf roller coaster, I think is meant to go on at nighttime. So I'll be curious to see like what they then do during the year if like they don't keep that park open. Like you said, like they do the horror nights and stuff like that.
Right.
obviously in the fall they would keep the park open for the extra ticket horror nights and
Right.
stuff. So I just don't know. I'd be very curious.
But they're
to see
paying. You
how
have
that
to pay
works.
extra for that. So
Yeah, I know. So I
you're
don't
paying
know.
to come to the park at night.
Yeah, I'd be very curious to see. So
Okay.
So overall, I would say Express Lane definitely worth it. I would say I do think Express Lane is worth it overall, but I would not get Express Unlimited. I would say you can probably do both parks in one day if you really wanted to. You just pick and choose what you really
Pick and
want to
choose.
do. I think a lot of things are very skippable in my opinion personally. Again, there's not that many like photo options. I would say there's not like lots of characters walking around. Or
Chalk
things
it
like
up
that.
to research.
Yeah,
you know,
for sure.
you spent the 2 days. You got the top tier, so you could see what it was. You did your research, so now when you go back again, it won't be 11 years. It'll be closer, and you'll be able to know what to do.
Yeah, no, for sure. All right, that was kind of my overall review of Universal Studios and Islands of Adventure. I feel like there's a lot more I could say, but we're already at 58 minutes recording right now, so I'm going to have to cut a
this
lot
was
of
number
this out a
two.
little bit. I know, right? This is part 2. And this is also extremely pre-recorded. Like this is like almost a full month pre-recorded
Yes.
because of the Snow White movie and stuff coming out too. So,
Right.
all right, so no Disney news, of course, because we were way too pre-recorded for that, but there are a few Disney birthdays. First up is April 9th is Peggy Carter's birthday, so happy birthday to Peggy Carter. And then we also have on April 12th is the anniversary of Disneyland Paris opening. So
okay.
very excited for Disneyland Paris. I don't think they're doing anything this year because it's
Special.
not like a special year, like a major year, but still exciting, April 12th. And then we have a few other personal birthdays. On April 7th is my Uncle John's birthday. On April 8th is my cousin Angelo's birthday. And April 12th is Salvatore's birthday. And that leaves us with our final segment of the podcast, our Disney memory. Do you have a Disney memory?
I don't
for
have
this
any more
podcast?
memories. I gave all my memories for that.
I know this
Like I
whole
said,
podcast
I actually
was
gave you my memory
so-
of St. Patrick's Day just a few minutes ago.
Oh, yeah,
so.
true. So we can say that was your
Yeah,
memory.
that
Again, this
was my
whole
memory.
episode was my memory. Yes. So again,
But that triggered my memory because I forgot that I was there for. I don't even remember if we went on any rides. I think we just went into Universal and hung out.
That's what's funny. When I was a kid, I was like, what did we even do when I was a kid? I
know.
was like, I feel like I did nothing. when I
No,
was
we
a
did
kid.
nothing.
Yeah, I
when
have
you
no
were there.
memories when I was
The
a
only
kid.
thing we did do when you were there was everybody else left the park because who was leaving on a plane, who was doing this, who was doing that. If they made me go to Universal, we went to the slime thing, Nickelodeon's.
Oh, that's not even there anymore.
Oh,
so,
okay.
yeah.
We went to the slime thing where they had the big pool in the middle
Yes.
and people got called down.
I do remember that,
Luke
actually,
really wanted to
yes.
get called down and he didn't, to get slimed and all that kind of stuff.
I do remember that. Funny enough, that's crazy.
Yeah.
I remember that, but yeah, that's not
The bad thing
anymore,
about that
so.
day, too, was I remember Daddy put his back out and he was not happy because it was Thanksgiving. It was actually Thanksgiving
okay.
Day and he had put his back out. And I told him, what are we spending all this money to get 4 of us into Universal when you've got a bad back? She can't go on any rides. And he was like, no, we have to go. We have to go. We have to go. It was the biggest wasted day for me. So that's why I am never going back to Universal.
Yeah, I would say for you, it's really not worth it.
No,
There's
it's
nothing
not worth
interesting
the
that's
money.
there. None of the
No.
movies you even like either.
No,
so.
no, there's nothing worth for me in Universal.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. Again, I would definitely go back, but if I went back, I'd only do one day in Universal Studios and Islands of Adventure with Express Pass just to zip through all the stuff that I liked, and then I'd be done and go back to Disney. So,
I do love Disney.
in my own opinion.
Yes.
However, when Epic Universe opens, we'll see. 'cause
Yes,
Epic
you may want
Universe
to
is
check
supposed
that
to be
out.
really cool.
Yes,
So
you may,
I definitely want
once
to see
you see
Epic
all what
Universe.
comes
Yeah.
out about it, you may be interested.
For sure.
Okay.
All right. Thank you, everyone, for listening to this week's episode of the podcast. Make sure you give us a review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. We will also have a dedicated Instagram post on this on my Instagram, Almost Amanda X. So let us know, what did I not do in Universal that I missed? Again, we didn't really eat any meals in Universal. Were there
I
certain
don't think
meals?
she missed too much, though.
Yeah, like meals or snacks. Again, we didn't do a lot of that. Again, we didn't do any of like the meet and greets or anything like that.
No.
There are some meet and greets in the parks, and we just skipped all of those as well. So I'd love to hear your thoughts and opinions on Universal. If you think Harry Potter World is worth it, if you think any of the other sections are like, oh no, actually I love the ET ride of all the nostalgia for it, where I'm like, it was weird. So just my opinion, it was just weird. But we'd love to hear your thoughts. So definitely let us know on our Instagram. And until then, we'll see you very